Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic. Time for some thoughts and opinions and reviews of the comic books that I picked up last Wednesday. It was a big week for me, which means I'm going to get through this quite quickly. At least I hope I am, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. And let's just get this ball rolling. Let's do this quick. Let's quick draw McGraw. It's from Marvel. It's issue 8 of Charles Soule's Astonishing X-Men. And yes, this is at the bottom of my pile. And the reason is it's kind of slowed down a little bit. And we've got all this lengthy kind of exposition, diatribe of if we should trust this latest X character, who apparently is Xavier in Phantom X's body, and nobody trusts this person, despite the fact that they do seem to be trying to help put down Proteus, despite the fact that they kind of let him back into this universe and kind of resurrected him because we all thought he was dead. And so it's up to the X team to try and work together, despite the fact that they keep messing up. Bishop making him even stronger than he began. But there's some kind of funny little tiny bits in there. The whole Wolverine and Mystique relationship, them kind of flirting a little, which is quite amusing. I do feel like, and it's always the same with these kind of maxi series that have a different artist for each issue. It's kind of like the Commandy that we had over at DC, the Commandy Challenge. They kind of use their big name artists straight away, and I get it because they want to kind of draw you into the series, but you need to pad those big names out, because when you get to what's his name, Paolo Siqueira, it feels a little bit it kind of, the quality, as much as it's okay for a comic book art style, when you've had the big names like Ed McGuinness and the like earlier, and Del Mundo, this just feels kind of average. We kind of, in this kind of second part of this 12-issue miniseries, we seem to be treading on water a little, and Charles Soule really needs to kind of give it a big burst of action again. Redlands, issue number 6. Yes, so far down my pile, but there's a reason for this, and it's more disappointing or disappointment rather than this was actually a bad book. Because if you watch my Wednesday video, my pull list video, I kind of said I got on board with this title now. I got invested with these characters, and I was excited to know what was going to come next, and what kind of adventures these kind of quasi-witches were going to have next. That, you know, they'd set up these characters, they'd set up this universe, and everything around it, and it intrigued me, it brought me into the story. And now I find out, let's be honest, I've got a feeling this is going to be the last issue. You're not going to see Redlands again, despite the fact that they say, oh, we'll see you later on in the year. It's all very up in the air, and I don't know how well Redlands was received by you guys out there. If anyone else was enjoying it, please let me know in the comment section down below. But I don't really see this coming back. However, the story, to finish off, it was very visceral. It was very in your face, as we take a kind of road trip with one of the witches, who I think is inhabited by the ghost or spirit of a kind of murdered prostitute. It's basically a revenge story surrounding a brothel where all the girls that were involved in this brothel were there not by choice, and obviously were treated incredibly badly by the clientele. And this was basically a revenge story and pulls no punches. So the story's really great. As I said, I've really got to enjoy this book, and now it's gone. like I said, I'd be very surprised if we see Redlands back, at least this year. It's the final part of the 6-issue miniseries from Marvel's sister imprint Max Comics. It's The Punisher, The Platoon, and here's that word again, disappointment. I just kind of felt this wasn't as big an ending as I was expecting or perhaps wanted from this series. It's been great up until now, and I guess this was more about the survivors rather than Frank Castle the Punisher and their story and their appreciation of Frank basically helping them survive and get through their tour of the Vietnam War. There were just moments that I thought were missing. One of the big ones was the person that was interviewing them. I don't believe we actually ever saw them, and I thought that was going to be right at the end of this book, like the big twist on who was actually interviewing them. And it would have been great if it had been Frank Castle kind of in some sort of disguise, but as far as I could tell, as far as I can remember, you never find out. And that just felt to me like that was something missing there, a kind of missed opportunity. Even if it was perhaps one of the Vietnamese from that army trying to get a kind of bigger, fuller picture of what went down. But, you know, we get the kind of the action with the fight between the girl from the Vietnamese and Frank Castle, and also the kind of relief of getting out of the whole bombing that goes on, and getting to go home back to their family and children. There was just, again, something a little bit missing from this 6-issue miniseries. Hoping that Garth Ennis and Goran Parlov come back again for another story of Frank Castle's army days, and that would be great because they do a good job. I get very excited. It's just this last issue didn't quite fulfill the potential of what I wanted from this 6-issue miniseries. Issue number 14 of Monstrous from Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. What another fine episode issue of this book it's been. If I had an issue with it, it was probably the amount of characters that there are, and trying to keep up with who are the kind of good guys and the bad guys, because it's all kind of murky to say the least. But certainly Marjorie Liu amped up the action and the terror in this issue as our kind of main character, we've got on the front there with her demon aside her, start taking on this kind of mystical armour that takes over her body, and releases, I guess, it looks like it, this has been a bad decision, but releases the full demon that is within her. And of course we've got all the rest of the surrounding kind of supporting characters, I guess, coming towards this Pontus. Is it Pontus Island, where everyone can just live freely, whoever they are, wherever they come from. But obviously the war is a-brewing. I mean, this is just gorgeous art from Sana Takeda. She's got this lovely kind of mystical, magical element to it that just brings this kind of high fantasy concept to life. I always love kind of just looking at this book, probably more than reading it at times, because I'm just like so overwhelmed by all the characters. However, you know, I'll still be picking this up. I want to see where this book goes. Every time I say that, the book ends. Maybe I should shut up and never say that again, because this is good storytelling. I hope Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda have a long stretch for this book still to come. Okay, let's have a look at a DC title now, and it's Super Sons, Peter Tomasi's DC book, issue number 13. And again, if you've seen my Wednesday's pull list video, you will know that, well, this book has not long to go. It has been cancelled. May, I think it is, we will see the last issue of this book. And it's just so wrong. This book didn't really get the chance to flourish, as good as every issue has really been. Again, it's one of those books, those kind of lower tier DC books that they use to tie into bigger stories. And I've seen it so many times with kind of lower tier X-title books over at Marvel, and it's just the same over at DC. Unfortunately, this is going, and we won't, who knows when we'll see Damien and John together again. This is the start of a new story, The Parent Trap Part 1, and Damien's mother, I can't remember what her first name was, but there she is anyway. She's coming to take her son. She's not particularly happy that he's, in a way, getting a bit domesticated, going to school, wasting his talents and abilities, and she's got a mission for him. But Damien isn't that pleased about going, let's be honest. Again, this book is just so much fun. I love the relationship that Damien and John have together. The kind of John Superboy, the over-eagerness, the excitedness of just everything that comes his way, coupled with obviously Damien's kind of world-weary outlook on life, his cynical attitude. The two should not be friends, but friends they are, whether Damien likes it or not. So this kind of leads into the next part of the story where John's mother is on some sort of hit list to be assassinated, and I guess Superboy and Robin are going to be out there to help her and save her life. But we haven't got very much long with Super Sons. I very much doubt if we even gave it a big push we would save it. The DC, missed opportunity. This is such a good book and should stay for so much longer, but we're going to have to say goodbye. We're on to Daredevil, Charles Soule's latest run, issue 599, another part of our Mayor Fisk storyline. And the thing that intrigues me most about this particular storyline, and given the next issue is the kind of monumental 600th issue of Daredevil, is that this storyline, as good as it is, I am really enjoying it. It doesn't feel like it would be leading up to some major life universe changing event for Daredevil. Yes, we've got Wilson Fisk being the mayor of New York City, and, you know, getting all the kind of criminals to head different departments of his of this city. But, and despite the fact, you know, by the end of this issue, you know, Daredevil's rounded up some of his mates to come and help and sort his plan out at the end. You know, you've got Moon Knight, you've got Iron Fist, you've got Luke Cage, you've got Echo, what's her name? I can't remember the woman's name there. It's on the tip of my tongue. I mean, we've even got Spider-Man up there. But I just don't know what Charles Soule has got in store for us. And I don't know whether that makes me feel excited or confused. As I said, this story is still a great solid tale that Soule is telling us. It kind of veers from Daredevil, who basically is trying to figure out where Muse is, to find out what the hell is he up to, but all he can think about is Fisk. Fisk is everywhere, and he can't kind of push all those thoughts and the voices out of his head. So basically the other half is about Blind Spot, and Blind Spot obviously has a huge grudge against Muse after taking his eyesight, despite the fact it's back. there is a revenge plot going on there, and it doesn't really go well for Blind Spot. He's all a bit bravado and not big ideas, but big thoughts and plans. But Muse is just clearly about 5 steps in front of him, and by the end of this issue, Blind Spot is falling. As I said, I think I'm excited for issue 600 now, because I want to know what this big, absolutely huge event is going to be based on this storyline. Now, we come on to Brandon Graham's Multiple Warheads, Ghost Thrones, sorry. And I would love to tell you what went on in this book. However, I can't. It's so bizarre. It's wonderfully bizarre, but it's still bizarre. This is the kind of conclusion to a story that started off in Brandon Graham and Emma Rios's anthology series, Island. And as much as I don't remember a great deal of it being an island, I always appreciate when Brandon Graham brings this crazy world of his out, even if it's only for this brief one-shot to kind of close the chapter on his Multiple Warhead storyline. It's just so bizarre. I mean, you have things like these huge lumbering monsters that, if you look closer, it's made out of many, many people. And you have these weird ideas. You've got like these ghostly hands, and they start attacking some of our main characters, but they pull them apart, and the words that are within the within these kind of ghostly spectres, they kind of use them to get to different areas of this kind of cave dwelling they're in. There are kind of, and I've said this before, and I think this is just so great about Brandon Graham, is that you have these great kind of panels that don't really appear at first to have a great deal of detail in, and this will not work on here, but for those of you who've got it, it does say at the top here, to see what once was, hold the page in front of a light, and if you put it against the light, the back cover, the back page behind it is kind of put on top of our page here, and it looks, it's a clever little ploy, makes you kind of a different reading experience, and reading Brandon Graham's Multiple Warheads is a different reading experience than probably most of you are used to. I kind of said in Wednesday's video, Brandon Graham is very much the kind of beat poet of comic books. You won't necessarily stick to a linear line of storytelling from A to B. It's not even kind of A to G to X to Z, back to C, over to X. There just seems to be no kind of pathway at all, but we get a start and a middle and end, if that makes any sense at all. And when you read Multiple Warheads, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, but the process of reading it is thoroughly enjoyable. I love his work. I can't wait to see what Brandon Graham will bring out next. We have the first part of the Doctor Strange mini event that started this week. It is Damnation, written by Nick Spencer and Donny Cates, with art by, who is it, Rod Reese. And I have to say, I was actually pleasantly surprised with this. To be honest, all I knew about it was something to do with Las Vegas, obviously from the last main issue of the Doctor Strange title. Stephen Strange has got his magic powers back, and I kind of guess you have to have read, I think it was Mighty Thor, to kind of get the setup to this storyline, and that's the fact that some big event happened in Las Vegas, lots of people lost their lives, and I kind of guess Las Vegas was destroyed. So in comes Doctor Strange, and it's one of those storylines, you know, we've seen it all before, you know, good guy tries to do a good thing but ends up making things worse, and that's the introduction of Mephisto, our kind of ruler of the underworld. But it was just a great book. It was fun. It was well drawn. It had, you know, some kind of guest artists by the Avengers. There's Thor. There's Black Panther in there. There's Ms. Marvel, and again, it kind of fits in previous storylines. You know, from the I don't think it was Civil War. Was it Civil War 2? I didn't read it, but yeah. Though the elements of past Marvel events. But what has basically happened is Las Vegas basically crashed into Mephisto's land, and you know, Mephisto, being a bit bored, thought, hey, this is fun, let's take on all these people's souls and use them for kind of nefarious means. And then of course Stephen Strange brings back Las Vegas to its original state, almost kind of resurrecting the dead. But by resurrecting Las Vegas and everyone, he's also brought Mephisto up with him and all the demons. And that's basically this storyline now, is going to be Mephisto against Doctor Strange, along with, I guess, there's a bunch of other characters along the way. Looks like we're going to see Blade, Moon Knight. It looks like we might see a little bit of Man-Thing there, and also Ghost Rider, among others. But it's just great. The artwork was really cool. There's some really kind of dark, menacing images going on. So yes, very surprised, but glad that this is something that I'm excited to read. Jeff Lemire is back with Descender issue number 27, and we left off with the whole kind of Rise of the Robots storyline, with all the robots basically taking over the human world, taking back what they thought was theirs after being so kind of fought down for so long. We kind of saw at the end of the last issue and the end of that story arc, Tim 21 along with his friends get to this planet where there's all these robots and what seems to be a very elderly human master. And I guess we were all kind of waiting for what the fallout from that was. Who is this old man? And I guess you do find out in this issue as we go back some 4,000 years, I think it was. Yes, 4,000 years, and we see the kind of the birth of this storyline with this old man who is on a planet that won't look to the future, won't accept technology and all the benefits it can bring to their lives, and they are more in tune or inspired, I guess you could call it, by the old gods, the mythology, the fables. There's also almost a kind of like religious fervour about it. So it's more the kind of the gods versus science kind of deal going on. And so it's up to this explorer, this professor of science, to go out into the stars to find out where he can be, I guess, accepted. And through his journey through space with his son, he ends up on this planet that we ended up at the end of the last issue, where everybody on it, they ain't organic. These are all the robots. So we've kind of got that set up now. We know who this guy is. We know the kind of beginnings of his interaction with the robots. What that interaction will entail, perhaps we'll find out in the next storyline. It is called Old Worlds. This is the first part of a 3-issue series. So perhaps this is the kind of origins of the robots and where they came from. But fantastic stuff. Dustin Nguyen, just still great artwork. Love this book. Issue 23 and the penultimate issue of Matt and Charlene Kent's Department H. And I will not spoil this book for anyone who's not read it yet, but we find out who the murderer or murderers actually are. And it does make sense, and it does feel, well, I feel kind of relieved that I have the answers now. And I remember way back at the beginning of this series, Matt Kent did say that there were clues right at the very beginning on who the culprits were who killed Mia's father. And yes, they are there. As we saw at the end of last issue, Mia is trying to get to the surface. She's been entrusted with this cure for the virus that's going on the surface, but her submersible only has enough air to get her so far up, and from then she's going to have to use her suit to get even further up, and then the suit's going to run out of air. Is she going to have enough air just on her own to get to that surface? And in this, we kind of have her trying not to think about how much air she's got to get to the surface. And so instead, she concentrates her kind of, I guess, her detective skills in working out who killed her father, and indeed she does in here in fantastic style. The artwork in here, as always, is brilliant. There are some absolutely fantastic pages as she wends her way up to the surface. We haven't quite yet reached it. She's still making her way to the top. Is she going to make it? We will find out next issue in this fantastic series from the Kents over at Dark Horse. So here's my pick of the week, and this week it goes to Maestro's, Stephen Scrooge and Dave Stewart's. Again, one of those kind of crazy, screwed up fantasy type tales that Image do love putting out, along with its horror and sci-fi genres. But this was just fantastic. The way these guys kind of travelled the line of kind of really bawdy adult humour, mixing in high adventure with magic, the emotional impact of storylines, that it's also cleverly kind of balanced, because at one half it could go too over the top with the bawdy humour, or it could get too sentimental on one side, or there can just be too much of the adventure and not much of the character work. But these guys really have done an excellent job in keeping that balance steady, and it's such a fantastic book. We have our new Maestro in the clutches of this huge demon. The princess, the daughter of this demon, the Maestro saved in a few issues ago. And basically our Maestro wants the demon to help him, to ally with him, to get back the book of, I think it's not Creation, I can't remember what the book's called now, but it's in the hands of the bad guys anyway, and they've kind of taken the fight to Earth to find his mother and the kind of slave girl that he had, and wants to get her back. But it's just so much fun. It's very kind of colourful and bright, and in parts it's just ridiculous. You have them on Earth here. You've got kind of the old wizard looking kind of like bored with the whole thing as he goes off, going through a kind of car park to a Price-Low, which is, I guess it's kind of like a Walmart type place, but it just looks so silly and out of place, but it's funny at the same time. Just a brilliant book. I'm very surprised how well received I've taken this. I just thought it was going to be another silly, bawdy kind of fantasy book, but there's more to it, and I'm really enjoying it. Go find it, tell me what you think of it, and we'll have a chat down in the comment section. Great book, and I hope I did it under maybe 20 minutes, maybe 25 at a touch. Thank you for spending some time with me. Let me know down in the comments section what you thought of the books that I picked up this week, if you're reading them too. Maybe you have a different opinion of them than me. Let me know. I don't mind. We all like different things. Give this video a big thumbs up. And if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, then hit that button so you don't miss out on any new videos that come throughout the week. Until next time, bye-bye.